Chapter 25. Zarathustra, the All-Pure, divided the people, leading his followers away from the others, taking them into good places of delight. After that, he looked back with compassion, and he said to Mazda, "What of them who will not accept the Ormazdian law?" Mazda answered him, saying,
"Behold, thy arms are full. Let the dead have dominion with the dead. Not only this generation, but many that come after thee, will not be alive to the Ormazdian law."
Zarathustra apportioned his people into cities and villages and families, but over the whole of them he appointed Yasavak as chief, one of his companions, who came with him from Oas. And when Yasavak was established, Zarathustra and his companions traveled further, and came to the city of Nakiro, kingdom of Abotha, king of 12 generations through his forefathers, whose title was Abotha, son of Uzzah, son of Nimrod, son of the house of Tusayan, who was descended from before the world was. Nakiro was a walled city, but the Zarathustrians gained entrance without paying tribute, because the law thus favored strangers. Abathal, in his youth, had traveled amongst the Parseans, and knew the language, and when Zarathustra was before him, speaking in the Ozan tongue, the king inquired his business, and how long he purposed staying, stating, moreover, that he had received the tablets of the Ormazdian law, with the interpretations, from the king of the sun, Asha, and that he had desired to see Zarathustra. Zarathustra said, "I came to establish the Ormazdian law. In the name of the All-Light will I blunt the edge of the sword and the spear. Until I have fulfilled the commandments upon me, I shall tarry within thy city. Of things thou hast read in the holy book I am come in the person of Mazda." The king said, "My city is not so large, I have more scalps and skulls, for the size of my city, than any other king in the world. But know thou, O man, I am a philosopher. Many of my people are also learned people. Hear thou me then, and if thou hast a greater philosophy than I have, I will not only bequeath to thee the public skulls and scalps, to be thy treasures forever, but I will also give my skull and scalp into thy hand, as the most valuable treasure, in the Japheth, that is, China, empire." Zarathustra said, "Though thou settest great value on skulls and scalps, because they are the product of labor, yet they are of no value to me, nor to the Father in heaven. Neither have I any philosophy for thee, or for the fathers begotten. To accept his will, to be servant unto him, by doing good unto others, comprise the whole of the law, by which all men may be made to rejoice in their creation." The king said, "Think not that I am as other men. I am not as other men. In the first beginning of all things, there were 7 and 9 things. I was one of them. By division, we created all there is in heaven and earth. 7,000 and 7 millions, and 9,000 and 9 millions of times have I divided myself. 1/7 and 1/9 of all there are of created things is my very self. Tell me, then, hast thou as great a philosophy as this?" Zarathustra said, "O the folly of men before thee, O Ormazd! They run after that which flattereth self, seeing their fellows going down in death, and they raise not their hands to lift them up. I tell thee, O king, why a poorest slave that bringeth out of the earth food for 2 men, hath a greater philosophy than thine? He that can rule over his own self-conceit, that speaketh not of himself, giveth a better philosophy of himself than thou hast. He who hath not yet risen from his mother's breast, hath more treasures to give than thou hast obtained with all thy philosophy. Ere 3 days have passed by, the city's skulls and scalps will be burned to dust. Nor will thy philosophy avail thee to stay the hand of Mazda." The king said, "Proposest thou with this handful of men to battle with my army?" Zarathustra said, I have spoken. There is no value in discoursing with any man, who hath an opinion to establish, nor is man's opinion of value to raise up the souls of men. Bring out, therefore, thy army, and command them to fall upon me and mine. The king said, Thou hast no weapons, think not that I battle with men who use their tongues like women. Zarathustra said, Why boastest thou? Thy soldiers will turn and flee when thou bringest them against me. The king turned away then, and ordered his officers to bring soldiers, and dispatch Zarathustra and his companions, and to hang their skulls and scalps on the walls. Zarathustra and his companions went into the king's garden, and formed an altar. When the sun had set, and evening came, the king's soldiers, more than 10,000, came upon them. Ahura had great power, because of the faith of Zarathustra, and he spake with a loud voice, saying,
Light of thy light, O Ormazd! Build me here a wall of fire.
And behold, there fell from heaven curtains of fire, till a great wall stood betwixt the two peoples, nor would one soldier throw a spear, or sling a stone, and many of them broke, and fled. When the king saw the power of Zarathustra, he feared for his kingdom, and not deciding at once what course to pursue, he went into his palace. Then came Zarathustra and his companions out of the garden, but the light extended up above Zarathustra's head, like a pillar of fire. Ahura spake to some who were nearest, saying,
Run quickly and call the soldiers back, saying to them, They shall be my soldiers, and I will give them the weapons of the Creator.
So the messengers ran, and brought many of them back. Ahura commanded them to gather the skulls and scalps from the city walls, and from the gates, and go, and burn them, and the soldiers did these things. The next day after they were consumed, Ahura began to preach, explaining the Ormazdian law, and he received many followers. The king had tried by all means to gather his soldiers together, but no one obeyed him. After that Zarathustra went to him, saying, If thou art 1/7, and 1/9 of all things, who thinkest thou I am? The king said, They say thou art a very creator. But, as to my opinion, thou art only a magician. Thou canst not do anything real, for which reason, I hope thou wouldst come before me. No, then, why end hath come. With that, the king struck at Zarathustra, but the king's sword was broken in 2 pieces, and of none effect. The king had 2 trained cheetahs, large as the largest lions, and he ordered them to be unloosed and set upon Zarathustra. And it was done, but, lo, and behold, the cheetahs came, and licked his hands. But the king was hardened, and would not believe. Ahura called the king to come near, and he came. He said unto the king,
I am not thine enemy, but the enemy of evil. I come not to take thy kingdom. In a few days I shall leave this place. So, thy kingdom would be worthless to me. And yet I come to establish another kingdom, which is the Father's. I come to overthrow sin and wickedness, and to build up that which is good. And in so doing, it shall be known amongst men, that the soul is immortal. Rather would I see thee, and thy people alive and full of joy, than to see them dead. Thou hast said thou understandest the Ormazdian law, perceiving there is also a king's law. The king's laws are for the earth world, to punish the wicked and reward the valorous. The Ormazdian law is for the Zarathustrians, who need no kings. Thy subjects are for war and plunder, but the subjects of the Great Spirit are for doing good, and in love and mercy. And have I not shown thee, that the Ormazdian laws are the stronger of the 2? Yea, 100-fold. It is wiser for thee to espouse a stronger law. Thou hast gathered certain treasures, boasting of thy treasures' value. Because thou hast made a law of exchange for skulls and scalps, how sayest thou? Maketh thou them valuable? Because a man bringeth a skull to thee, thou givest him bread. Now I declare unto thee, values consist not in the rate of exchange betwixt men. Shall a man gather a heap of stones, and say, Behold, they are valuable? Or iron, or gold, or copper, and say, Behold, they are valuable? A piece of bread is valuable, or flax, or wool. Because man hath set value on things not valuable, he buildeth in falsehood and death. Or Mazd alone is valuable, the man who hath the most all light, hath the greatest valuables. For by the light of the Father all righteous things can be obtained easily.
Whilst Mazda was yet speaking, the spirit of Zarathustra went abroad, and, with 10,000 other spirits, brought fish and fruit, and let them fall around about the place. The people ran, and gathered them up for food. The king made no reply at first, for he was encompassed about with evil spirits, who were angered with Mazda and his proceedings. Presently the king said, Because I am transcended by thee, it is no longer useful for me to live. With that, he cut his belly across, and fell dead. And Zarathustra commanded that the king's body be laid straight for 3 days, and it was done. And there came thousands of people to look upon the king, and witness that he was dead. And they saw of a truth that the bowels were gushed out of the wound, and that there was no breath in him. So, Mazda suffered the spirit of the king to live 3 days in torments, and then he called his disciples around him, saying, Now will I raise the king to life, and it shall be testimony in Japheth. And Zarathustra pushed the bowels back into the belly, and drew the place shut, saying, In thy name, O Father, heal this man's body, as a testimony of thy wisdom and power. And when Zarathustra had drawn his hand over the belly twice, it was healed. And then Zarathustra said, O Father, as by thy spirit thou didst quicken into life this thy child in his mother's womb, restore thou him to life. And the king was healed, and restored to life, before the people, and he awoke, and looked about, and then rose up. He said, Even now I was dead, and in hell, and I saw millions of the dead, and they were in hell also. And there went up around about them fires, of burning brimstone, and none could escape.